Chair, Ms. Schaefer,
Here.
Ms. Black, Mr. Connor,
Here.
Mr. Doherty, Mr. Grove, Mrs. Hayden,
Here.
Ms. Jones,
That's hot.
What'd you say?
are you here?
What'd you say though?
This is Mrs. Jones.
Okay. Here. Cause he said music first.
Huh? You what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. King, Mr. Slater, Ms. Thomas, and Chair Smith. For President, Madam Chair.
Do we need to call our
Huh?
student?
I don't have them on our, but I will do
We
so.
need to change that. We'll change it.
Ms. Saeed, did I get your name right? And Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
So you have your agenda in front of you. I am going to pull one item to the top, and that's 1.7 district goals. We're going to discuss that first, and then we'll follow in order. So first up is this school district goals, which was school board goals. Did we change the name of it?
I did not.
There was one of each, wasn't there, in the policy?
There was not. I think we might have been calling it school board goals, but I think what we had in here is school district goals, or what our policy said was school district goals. You can confirm for me if we find out otherwise, but do you know if there's any, that used to be school board goals and somehow it got changed?
I have no way of
Okay.
knowing. I will say that because of some dead links on our site, sometimes the title is different from what the actual policy says.
Okay.
And that could very well be it.
I can check to just make sure we're, don't have anything different in places, but if we had changed it, it would have been red.
Okay. So you will see lots of red lines. We've been working on this for quite some time. You'll see that it was first issued in '04, revised in '22. This is 2025. So we haven't voted on revising this since 2022. We have the new Opportunity 2030 plan. So this has been redlined a few times this year to try to be more succinct and in line with the Opportunity 2030. And it was like 3 or 4 sentences per little paragraph you'll see on the back of the page. And we've condensed it to like one main sentence per category. So does anyone have any comments about those main sentences, those main categories, and trying to make this mirror the Opportunity 2030, or at least be in line with it? Any comments? They're reading, so let's give them a minute.
So that's what we had before, all of that.
No, that's all new.
The red line's all
This is
new.
all
Oh,
what we
that's
had
all
before.
out. I see.
And it didn't
This is
line
all
up with the same language of Opportunity 2030. So we've redlined it to make sure it lines up with our strategic plan. Yes, Mr. Connor.
Thank you. No, I mean, these seem like we're trying to get ourselves in line. I would just like to hear from the team. Do you guys approve of this? Is this what you see for opportunity? Like, is this the right wording, in your opinion, since this is the goals we're giving to you to achieve for us?
Yeah, it is. I think there's more to come that kind of adds a little context. This is obviously super high level, so it's hard for us to like focus on something precise from these, but there's kind of a backup document I think that Ms. Schaefer's going to get to.
Yes, so if you will look at line 8 of the red lines, it says the director of schools will provide an annual report in the fall of each year aligned to the yearly approved board goals and corresponding outcomes as evidence towards the board's stated goals. So Dr. Robertson made a great suggestion when he and I were talking about this, that he spoke with the Knoxville School superintendent,
Yes, ma'am.
and they do an annual report, which is very data-driven. So he took this example, and you'll see it, it's in the
have one of
back,
those.
the very back of your packet. There is this example,
On the
yes.
back.
So this example, Dr. Robertson got from the Knoxville schools, and then, but there's some areas that we need to add what we want as a board. So what this kind of does is it takes, we're aligning, I think that's where I get it a little bit confused, Shannon. We say in here approved board goals on line 9,
Yes.
but the policy's saying school district goals.
I should have said before, I can make that adjustment
Okay.
and put that as a red line and officially call this school board goals if we
Yeah.
wanted to do that. It seems appropriate to me to do that.
I think so.
I'll clean it off.
So we're aligning the goals language with Opportunity 2030. But the goals language is very broad stroke, and Dr. Robertson wanted us to direct him a little bit better with these annual reports. So this would be us setting the metrics, 2 to 3 things from each category of the Opportunity 2030 strategic plan that we want to see this year, as we're supposed to revisit these every year. So that would give him better direction as to what this board wants to see data-wise, at the same time that we do his superintendent evaluation. So what is the most important things of the board goals, and how do we measure that? And so this annual report helps us measure, and it helps the administration know, what outcomes we really want to see this year. And it's kind of only fair to them to know what outcomes they're going to be judged by, right?
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I agree. I think more data is always a good thing, assuming that we're not being repetitive, but that's awesome.
I think this also gives the chance to be more flexible from year to year. I do think that after talking about it and looking at it, is possibly trying to agree on the annual report like in May. That way, going into the next school year, we're all on the same page. It helps us with communication to you in terms of like board memos, board presentations, and, keeping it to probably just 2, but maybe 3 indicators per, just allows us to be more focused on that year, what the board wants to see improvement in.
So if you'll look on this annual report, anybody can make, suggestions for the objectives. If you want to see a different objective, then, we want to hear from you. But you'll see we have some X's in here for what is the benchmark we're asking the administration to hit. So like the first one is increasing its achievement, which is TCAP. And on here, they just have the ELA and the math. If we want to see a different category added, we can add it. But right now, it's just the ELA and the math. It's the first objective. And you'll see by X%. Dr. Robertson and I talked about, what's a fair percentage? And we discussed maybe 2 to 3% increase on an annual basis is a fair projection, a challenge, benchmark. How do we feel about that as a board? Does anyone have a comment about that goal, a 2 to 3% increase in achievement?
I mean, that's a great idea for the first time, but as you just said, it needs to be assessed each year, because it could, and hopefully comes a time when we're doing so well that we can't achieve 2% more because we're that high. That's the hope. So as long as we're allowed to revisit each year and make sure that this is an attainable number and goals, but attainable. Yeah.
And
Yes.
to be clear, like, we literally spitballed this on Friday.
Yeah.
So these are, none of us are stuck to these. These were just ones that we pulled off that made sense. So we need to get more input on if all these are the right ones, if we want to look at, just the LA this year. So I don't want us to get stuck on these just because we did it really quickly to provide an example for tonight.
Yeah, and I'll just say, this is just an outline right now. It's nothing in stone, and something that we can add and take away, among our the board, and we can just discuss it with you all too, and come up with something.
So we'll get to this in a minute on how we pass policy revisions, but we'll want this to go on for a first read and then a second and final, unless the board wants it to be a first and final. But I think because we're missing so many tonight, we'll probably want to put it on for a first read, and then allowing everyone to make sure you give us your feedback on these. But I'm going to spend some time tonight discussing each one, because I feel like I say that and then I don't hear from anybody. So we're going to take the time tonight to discuss, like, do we want ELA and math? Or do you want something else? So I'm going to really break this down like a mama does, and going to ask for answers for each one so that we can have something for a first read that doesn't read X.
As clarification there, the policy has gone as first read. Are you wanting the policy to stay as a first read, or are you wanting the annual report?
I want it together
Okay,
as a first read.
as a first read. Okay.
Yes. 'Cause it needs to be together. So, what say ye on ELA and math, or do you just want to increase in ELA? Are we good with ELA and math? Krista?
Jody?
Do you have a thought?
I do have, sure.
Okay.
I think definitely ELA and math, and I was even thinking some kind of composite possibly, if y'all think so.
Yeah, if you want to do that, we change it to success rate, which would include not just ELA, but would include other subjects, so it's probably a more
The tested
comprehensive.
ones. I mean, that's an idea, and, the science and social studies, math and ELA, and maybe we can even break it out on the report possibly, I don't.
So in the numbers that you provided the board, Shannon, in that little 10-year chart that I asked for, was that a composite?
We can do a composite. I think we did each subject, and I'm
In
not
that
sure if we
report?
put a composite on there, but we might
We
have.
didn't, it was just each subject.
It was each subject.
Is this what you, so we were gonna bring Every Student Learns this last time. What you'll see is success rate by like ELA, math, science, and social studies, so that's everything rolled up. But you can also do a district-wide success rate that's all 4 of those rolled up. So you could do 4 large success rates or 1 composite that's everything, and says year over year is everything moving forward, the whole.
Is that fair to ask for the composite, or?
I think so. It's more comprehensive, and then, if we wanted, we're always going to provide data broken down, so you'll get to see the other part, but in terms of like, if we're trying to come up with 1 indicator or 2 indicators for this, that's probably the one that encompasses more students.
Okay, that's good.
And they're all tested strong academic subjects.
That's right. It'll be 3rd through 11th grade, all tested subjects. And we usually, like, what we'll report out to you guys next time is you'll have an ELA overall success rate, so 3rd through 10th
Yes,
grade.
we'll get the
will,
breakout.
yes, you'll see that by content, but overall success rate is everything.
Will we also see it by grade band?
You, in this, it depends on what indicator we're talking about, but yes, you can see it in our reporting to you, yes.
But in the annual report, we're saying composite now, overall, and by 2 to 3%. Okay, moving on to the next one, to TBOS.
I'm sorry, it's probably more clear as a metric to set one of them, do you think? Like, is
2
it?
or 3?
Yeah,
Let's
is
say-
it by 2% and then?
Let's say 2% for this first time going, making sure that it's attainable.
Okay.
And then if we bypass that, great, we'll know. Okay. The TBOS. Now, Shannon, I don't know if we were able to look at that data today or not.
We weren't able to get it in time.
So I wasn't sure. I was asking Shannon if we were increasing by 2% already, but how do we feel about increasing composite again, right? That's district-wide, those TBOS scores. Ms. Black.
Okay, I have a question. The way that this reads, it sounds like we're taking the basket of schools that reach level 3, 4, or 5 and looking at that percentage, but are we not going to look at whether schools move up in that
You wanna
basket.
reword it to where all
I don't-
schools move up?
I don't know. I don't really know how to word it, but I think at some point we'll probably hit a wall as to how many schools is in that bucket. But if schools keep moving up within that bucket, then we're still progressing. And I don't know how to change that wording, but I just wanted to ask the question and have us think about it.
I think it's a really fair point. I think the way that growth data works, it's not as linear as you would think, right? You would think a 1 through 5, it makes sense to move up a step each time. A 4 and a 5 pretty much mean that both of them are growth, it's just how much confidence there is around that. So it doesn't make sense in that data that a progression from a 4 to a 5 is a worthwhile progression. It just matters like how much data was there. That makes sense? So I think we might be a little bit off if we say you want to move from a 3 to a 4 or a 4 to a 5, because it doesn't quite work that way.
Oh, I don't know that we wanted to set goals about how many move. I just
Okay.
didn't know if there was a way that we could recognize if we have a whole bunch of schools that barely qualify at 3 on 1 year, and then after 5 years, they're closer to that group of schools is closer to being 4 and 5s. That's a big improvement for the overall district, right? I just don't know how we say that.
Mm-hmm.
Maintain or increase.
I personally like maintaining, because
Yeah, because 5s are gonna maintain, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So
Another-
that's a fair way of adjusting it.
I mean, another way to look at it is instead of counting schools, right? We do get an overall district score. So we could simplify that and be looking at a district score overall of are we achieving a 3 or higher, right? Instead of the count of each school year by year. But
That one's a little bit more of a pickle.
Maybe it'll be clearer when we get the data as to see like where we are, like what percentage we're at with
Currently,
currently.
yeah.
And then figure out how we might want to reword it to show growth.
Sure, we can.
This is gonna be a first read on the
October.
9th.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, really, what's more important for us to hear is you wanna see an achievement metric and a growth metric, which we've got. We just need to reword this second one.
Is there any other metric under every student learns that a board member feels like they want to see, or maybe we've missed, or maybe the administration has a recommendation? Anything else under every student learns?
I don't know, I guess I still want to like recognize growth even if we have schools, I don't know. I guess 3 being the bottom of that bucket of schools would recognize schools moving up from 1 and 2. Let's get on.
Well, that's what we're doing, we're spitballing. I get it.
have a spitball too.
Okay. Felice?
Let's see, one thing I just thought of, not that we have to use it, just an idea, increased percentage of students may be taking advanced placement or college credit courses if we're,
Under every student learns.
interested. It seems like it would go under every student learns.
Or a certificate program, including the future ready stuff.
Yeah,
So-
the Ready Graduate stuff, we track all of that data, so we can give it to you.
So that would be a third metric,
That's a big part
yeah.
of our
Just have-
education.
Look at the bottom, the
now.
very last, it's under every community served. This is kind of around the work-based learning / pre-apprenticeship. Kind of gets at what you're saying. It doesn't specifically mention dual enrollment, but you could add it there. We put this here, of course, thinking about like giving kids opportunities outside of the school during the day, but
I think we could add it both places. It's a different metric, isn't it? Those enrolled in dual enrollment or AP or licensing. That's a different metric than maybe internships and those kind of things. Which, that's how I read the one under every community served is more of like
Yeah.
an internship. It's a good catch, Ms. Haddon. Anyone else under every student learns? Okay. Every student belongs. There's 3 metrics here. The first one, increased percentage of students participating in school-based clubs, athletics, let's add fine arts, and other extracurricular activities by an X percentage. We could stay with this 2% theme, if that's what everybody thinks is appropriate.
This one,
I
we probably
think
have to
so.
get a baseline this year.
Yeah.
Because we don't have.
We don't have that data. Well, so then any 2%, you're gonna reach it. You go from 0 to whatever, you're gonna reach your 2%. Okay. Increased percentage of families responding favorably, oh, sorry, Ms. Jones?
You can go ahead and finish.
Okay. Increased percentages of families responding favorably to questions focused on student belonging by X percent. Is this a survey?
It's the same one that we've done the last 3 September, so we've got good baseline data on it and, you know,
Okay.
change over, in a month, we'll have change over a couple of years.
Mrs. Jones?
Why do we have to say favorably? Well, what is favorably? I mean, to me, that's kind of subjective. Is it favorably based on how we want them to respond, or favorably as in just responding, period? Or like, what does that mean?
It was our way to try to say, how do you pick that mid one plus above, right? So there's 5 stars that they can
Right.
choose from, so a 3 or above.
Okay.
Trying to get fancy with our words.
Do you just want to say 3 or above?
We can.
Would you rather that, Mrs. Jones?
Yeah, I think I'd rather that. I mean, because favorably to me could be, like I just said, like, does that mean the way we wanted them to respond? Does that mean they actually responded? Does that mean,
Sure, we can be more clear there.
Yeah.
Around what it is they're choosing.
And I have an idea, maybe even list the words that mean the 3, 4, and 5, like fair, very favorable, most favorable, you know what I mean? Maybe instead of say 3, 4, 5, maybe just list,
Okay.
maybe both, just an idea.
Mr. Connor?
Thank you. If I may, what I'm hearing Ms. Jones say is that it's, the question itself is what board members think is the best answer to that question may be different to each board member. So we're not asking them to favorably, like, we want everybody to agree with us. We're looking more for them to have actually completed the survey. And I think that that's sometimes the better input can be if something is negative and needs to be corrected. So I hear your side as well. I believe you're saying that you want people to be commenting, we like our schools at the end of it. But maybe that's not the question we're asking in that specific survey.
Are you
So-
wanting to change this to the number of the participation?
no,
I
I
don't
just think
have-
we need to define what favorably means. So if we would like for them to participate and we find it to be favorable that 80% of our parents participated, then that was favorable.
Yeah.
Versus favorable being they were, in their assessment, they found us to be providing I guess, a favorable service.
Yeah. And both
Because
could
you
be
might
good.
not get, I mean, I think that's, I don't know, that just didn't, and I saw that somewhere else in something else I was reading recently, and I have it down to, actually, when I meet with Dr. Stewart for work about with SSP, it was on something there, and I was like, well, what does that mean? Because it might be, like, you might have 80% of families that respond, and it could be disfavorable, but they responded, they communicated, they engaged, they interacted, they
Yeah.
were a part. So
Like,
I
what
think
if they
the
find
word-
a problem that we're
Right, that's what I'm
committing,
saying. So, like,
and it's a
I don't
favorable
know.
outcome because we fixed the problem?
I feel
Yeah.
like you're just talking about more participation.
I definitely am, but
That's different, what you just
but I also see what
you
you're
just
saying.
said,
Like,
right.
if the last question is, which it usually is, like, do you find your school to be favorable? Or I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I mean, do you like your school, basically? We definitely want that to be in the plus column, but if we're asking specific questions about things that we're doing in the schools, I don't think that we need them always to be flowers and rainbows about what we're doing in the schools, because we need the feedback. That's what the point of the survey is. So I think maybe those are two separate questions, and,
Sounds like they could be
yeah.
handled separately.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be difficult, I just think that there's definitely differing questions and.
No, you're good. I think I'm trying to parse out, are we looking for, the way this is written, what it's intending to say is the percentage of families that are kind of happy with, you know, student belonging,
services.
right? They're agreeing that student
So we
belonging
probably should
is
say
going
that.
well for their kid,
Yeah, that.
right?
You
Um,
probably should just say that then.
Yeah, we can reword that for sure, if that's where everyone wants to be. I think I'm trying to figure out, are we wanting to be there, or are we wanting to say, we just want to hear more voices?
I actually think both.
Yeah, I think both also, but I think our hands are a little tied
Yeah.
now that the surveys are opt-in, so
Right.
it's a difficult metric to follow.
It's for families, so it's not, this is the one that we sent this out last week or the week before.
I don't think participation's a fair metric.
Yeah.
We could give you the end counts though, so you could see.
Yeah, we could
you know,
include
that
that,
whatever,
but it's.
2,000, yeah.
I just wouldn't want us to be judging the superintendent based on this data.
And
if
that
it-
would be easier. We can increase the end count pretty easy. but, I mean, what we're trying to,
So these are your metrics, like what would have been in the evaluation? So you
not,
just-
not there yet. I think this is more like, as we were talking through this,
Because
I
she's
think
saying
part
judging
of.
you, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at the system because he's one person.
Right.
Who has people working under him that helps him achieve his goal.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be, first of all, I'm not gonna be judging you, but I wouldn't be assessing you or evaluating you on something based on a perception of a school, how somebody might feel about school from.
As we talked, and again, this is me and one board member talking, but I sense, and I think Ms. Schaefer agreed, frustration on both ends, right? Frustration on y'all's end of like, we're not getting you the information you want, frustration on our end of like, we're not quite sure what you're looking for. So on a yearly basis, what we're hoping this does, and it would adjust every year, so like these will look different the next year, is that this tells us as administration, like, here are the things to pay attention to, which we can report on throughout the year. This isn't necessarily my evaluation, although a lot of this will show up in my evaluation, but it's more about how do we get a cadence of communication, how do we know in, you know, December what it is that we should be reporting on. And when you're asking us, like, how are you doing on, you know, board goals this year? We've got a very clear way to report out on it. Some of this, you know, as we talked on Friday, we could probably report on throughout the year. Some of it is kind of end of year data, but it's just a way for us to get on the same page about this school year. What is it that you guys want to see from us, and how can we communicate better that back to you?
So they kind of want that in two separate things, Shannon, is what I'm hearing. Ms. Black, Mrs. Black.
I think I'm reading this differently. Because I understand, like, with the pulse check surveys, you have different categories, right? Like this, like several questions under, you know, communication, parent involvement, belonging. And so this is just saying, under that subheading of belonging, those questions that we're measuring, we are wanting to see responses of 3 or above from the families, because that means our students feel like they belong, right? That's measuring just a general, kind of amorphous, hard to measure. Like, this is the only way we're getting data on belonging, is just self-reporting how they feel, right? It doesn't mean, like, belonging is incredibly important. That's why we've included it in our goals, but this is really the only way we're gonna measure it. I don't necessarily see participation of the families from the surveys. Like, again, I don't know that setting a goal for participation is good. I don't know where you put it under any of these categories. But I do understand that this particular question is just taking the temperature of how our students feel and the belonging that they feel based on their family's answers to these specific questions that go out.
But if a family don't feel like
Yeah.
they belong.
Yeah, well, then they're
I mean, 'cause
gonna
I feel
score
like
it
I belong,
low.
and I ain't been
Sure,
to one in 2 years. I'm
sure,
just being honest.
like.
I'm being very transparent here, and I feel like we belong in our school
Yeah.
system, and that's on me as a parent. But I'm saying, if I feel like I belong and I'm not taking the time, if
Sure.
I didn't feel a part, would
Sure.
I take the time?
Actually, I think people are more likely to complain than they are to praise.
To Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
not to. I'm just being real. Like when we get complaints, they're in
And-
social media. They're not on this per se.
Or like when presented with a survey, just in general, people are more likely to write a negative review than a positive review. If they have something to complain about, they're more likely to do the voluntary thing, just sociology. But another
you wanna
question,
take it
did
out
we
all the
used
way?
to send links via text message and that stopped?
Take it out.
'Cause I
No,
don't
we,
even
we
know-
still
I
do.
don't
I
even
just
know
think
about
this
it.
last time we didn't, because there was
Okay.
a lot going on. But we do send them
Okay,
through text.
I was just wondering because I missed this last one.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
I think it's still
I'm-
open. I'd have to check.
I'm bad about checking my email,
We
but
should just take this
I
out.
do the text.
I do
But,
have a,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry,
No,
a
it's okay.
suggestion here. We might consider just taking this one off because it is a little bit subjective. It's something that we keep our eye on for sure to know, and we'd report out on, in different ways and make sure you guys can see the pulse checks, but it may not be the best metric for this.
I
It
agree.
also could, this is my OCD person here. I do love this if it has an even 2 per one, so you have a total of 10 metrics that you'd be keeping up with. It just kind of keeps that sticky. And so we might be able to consider, like, how do we narrow this down to 2 each one? And that way,
We've
we're
got
getting
3
the 2
now
best.
under every student learns, so.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, there's several of them.
So maybe it's 3 each.
You got 2, 3, 3, 3, 2.
Well, if we take this one out, we're down to 2, but y'all can think about another one.
I am interested in seeing this metric. I think we just have to find a clearer way to, I guess, word it to where where everybody understands what we're measuring.
We'll just work on it and try to bring it.
Right. I mean, because I'm okay with it if you just say what you like. When I say it, we'll just say that.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather you just say that. Like we don't have to AI it. Not that y'all did, but just don't fluff it. Just
I didn't actually
Say it.
AI that.
I know you did. That's what I'm not saying you didn't. I mean, you did that. I'm just saying, sometimes we get caught up in, oh, it sounds really good to us
Yeah.
because we're here, but the layman mom or dad doesn't. Like, just ask me
Yeah.
what you want to know.
Okay,
Madam
moving
Chair,
to
if
the
I could-
next one. Maintain or increase percentage of on-time graduates. We want to have that 2% language there too. Oh,
I think at this point, it's maintain or increase because we're at 94.3.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of like how we talked about the difference between being at 30% or 70%. That goal's got to, if we can maintain 94, increase it a little bit, I think that's, that's hard.
okay. Mr. Bennett?
I was making an observation that however y'all want to wordsmith that, I think that's a valuable thing to include simply because there is a lot of overlap between this report and the superintendent's evaluation. But this isn't in his evaluation. And so I think that it's important for the board and the administration to maintain a distinction between maybe how the superintendent is doing and how the district is doing.
Right.
Now, ideally, they're gonna be the same, but not always, because he can't control 6,500 employees, 45,000 kids, and the culture that we swim in. So I think this report is very useful for the board and for the administration to the extent it touches on things that aren't in the evaluation. That's a metric that's not in the evaluation.
Okay,
FYI.
thank you.
I get no vote here, but I just make that
No,
point.
we pay you to advise us, so that's good. Mr. Connor?
Thank you. I agree with the maintain or increase because this offers me yet another opportunity to poke a little fun at Dr. Robertson because Red Bank High School graduated more kids than they ever have even when he was principal last year.
Way more. Way more.
Every time. It's a lot of fun for me. But Scott further highlights how we need to make sure that creating a new metric isn't just recreating Dr. Robertson's evaluation. This is, we've changed it to say school board goals. So these are our goals, not just Justin's, so.
I saw it as separate, too.
Okay,
Can I make one comment?
yes.
And by making the graduation rate or numbers increase so much, it puts a lot of pressure on administration and teachers, to pass, whereas, it needs to be more rigorous standards, so maintaining is good for me.
Are these, I didn't see the Knoxville one, Dr. Robertson, are these kind of
Some of them are similar. We could send it,
Just as a comparison,
yeah.
so we can see how we're, because they're
I
good.
don't think that the one that we have is filled
Comparable
out. I think it's just
district.
I think it's just a template. We do that fine. Yeah, okay, we can get it.
Yeah, I think that'd be good for the
Yeah.
board to see what Knoxville does, and we can kind of compare as we're working through what we have. Okay, the next section, every school equipped. Metric 1, implement a comprehensive school safety rubric led by district school security team in partnership with local law enforcement.
So this is one that we don't have, so really this first year, it would be literally implementing it would be the goal. And then we would be able to get a baseline of comparing year to year from that, but this is getting it set.
Is this something already kind of been working on with them?
We've been working on it, and it's a little bit different. It's, not to get too detailed, we can talk detailed maybe on Monday at the safety meeting, but I always break up safety. There's a big behavioral piece that we often miss that this is trying to capture. And so we can talk about it more Monday, but we're wanting to get that implemented this year. Griffith and his team in the back have been working on it. We should have it be implemented in the next couple months, I would think. We could get a little bit of a baseline throughout the spring and then be able to set some metrics for next year.
Okay. Any comments on this metric? It's new. Okay, seeing no comments.
I do.
You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is this rubric gonna be public and
No.
detailed, or, okay, all right, thanks.
Please, do you have something?
And as far as decrease deferred maintenance, I'm almost thinking as far as a rating,
We're not there
overall
yet.
rating of the,
We're not there yet. We're just on this one. I'm going one by one.
okay, well, I was looking at all of them.
Yeah. Let's go to the next.
I didn't know
I
you were
told you,
just,
I
I
am
thought the whole
nitpicking.
thing, you just meant that first one.
I'm
Okay.
nitpicking tonight because I want to get
Okay.
feedback.
All right, that one's fine.
Okay. Increase principal satisfaction rating of custodial and ground service by X%. Do we have a baseline for that yet with the new company?
We don't have one with the new company. We probably have one with the old one, but this one put on there simply because it's been, you know, we've got a new company. It was a big talking point last year. I just feel like it's important for this year that we're paying attention to it.
Okay. You would just want to put
We'll try to
2%?
see if we've got a number and we can say, yeah, I think 2% makes sense. But we'll find a number and put something down on it. But again, because of where we are, I think this is one that we want to keep our eye on.
I hope it's way more than 2% after getting a new company.
We put 5%.
Okay, now we're gonna get this one, decrease deferred maintenance backlog by X%. We've been working hard on this. Felice, what was your comment on this one?
Maybe just a rating of the condition of the overall facility, so like we know where they stand, you know, the ones that need the most help and the ones that are in best condition. So not just the maintenance, but, you know, the overall condition
Yeah,
of
we
the
could-
buildings,
We could switch that.
maybe.
Make it included.
And just an idea, I mean, whatever.
The overall condition of facilities?
Yeah, I think what I hear saying is, yes, it's deferred maintenance, but it's also just reducing the number of buildings that are rated unsatisfactory or poor.
Okay, and that would be by a percentage.
Yep.
And it could be linked to deferred maintenance
I
for
think
sure,
actually
but-
probably let us look at that one. We can look at a percentage, or we could actually, I think in the strategic plan, it's actually a number, like by 7 or 8 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So we think we follow the recommendation and then let us look at, I think a number probably makes more sense than a percentage.
Okay, Mr. Connor?
Thank you. I would say this is another one that is important to differentiate between Dr. Robertson's and our goals, because this could wildly change based on how we do our budget and based on the amount of funding that we can get from local funding body, et cetera. Like, we know we have a backlog. If we thought we could ask for more money, we've been talking about it since the MGT report and before. Like, we know what needs to be fixed. It's not that anybody's not doing it, it's that it's expensive.
So again, that's why this is a separate report. It's way more data-driven than the superintendent evaluation, but it's meant to just inform us, making sure that we have the information that we feel is important from the administration. So is there anything under this category that anyone thinks we've missed? Another metric that comes to mind? Yes.
Technology. I know that at the beginning of the school year, we had an issue with the laptops that were left out of the budget, and then like having to replace them, and them having, because I mean, the Chromebooks, they have like a very short lifespan, as you all know. I mean, they do their job, but they are not sturdy, especially under the care of middle schoolers and high schoolers.
Right.
So I think, I don't know if every school equipped, I feel like also needs to include, to just make sure that our kids whose textbooks are primarily online, that they have a functioning Chromebook so that they can access them. And I don't know how to put that in here. Or just like maintain and replace year over year, just maybe writing something about ensuring that all our students are properly equipped with the technology they need to learn, by ensuring that, or like just ensuring that they have what they need, and we're not trying to scrounge around and move stuff around, and kids have stuff that needs to be replaced and we're not doing it.
You're adding to the three. Shannon's
Well,
going
but-
to start
I
convulsing.
mean, the thing that I would
That's a good
press
point.
there
That's
is
a good point,
to
Matt.
the previous comment Mr. Connor made, this one's even more tied to funding and the budget, you know, like.
Yeah,
it-
I
it's-
mean, that's why we didn't make it this year. Like,
Yeah.
that's why we had the problem that arose the first time, but,
I mean, I think we can report out on that, but trying to hold the administration accountable to something that is 100% budget dependent, that's difficult.
oh, I was just, like, I thought these were reports for us to be making decisions in general. I feel like the board needs to know, like, how many kids have gone without Chromebooks because of the cut we made last year? Like, I think that's an important thing that we need to know and be held accountable for. Like, not necessarily you, but like this is data to inform all of our decisions, not just the superintendent's review, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not the review, I
Yeah.
understand
So this
that.
is just data for us to track, and like, I mean, I want to know if the decision we made last year has ongoing effects throughout this school year on kids being equipped. Because I think it would prevent us from making the same mistake next year, or change our priorities
Yeah.
during budget season.
All the data is meant to inform our decisions. I want to ask our student representatives for every school equipped, because you're in them every day. Is there a metric on here that,
We just discovered they do not have copies of this, so I'm gonna show them. It's not on the back of it? It's really small.
That one I'm writing. So we're on the middle ever school equipped.
Oh, we have a million packets up here.
I'll say,
go ahead, Ryan.
I think technology, like you said, is a huge factor to look at, because I personally take a few dual enrollment classes, so that's 100% online. Like, we do have a facilitator in the classroom, but everything else, the assignments, communicating with the teacher, all of that's online. So seeing that students have the same accessibility to the same technology, I think, is key.
Okay. Saeed, Ms. Saeed, you have anything? No? Okay. Well, don't hesitate to hop in, okay, with any thoughts.
And maybe just, yeah, they don't have a light, so maybe
Yeah.
just.
You can wave
raise
at
a
me,
hand
we're
or
real informal
something.
tonight.
They've got little buttons.
Oh, they've got buttons, okay.
Do you
Okay.
remember during COVID when we had the little red lights? They've got little lights right there. It's like
Okay, so we can look at their
Yes, like-
lights, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna move on, that now is for Shannon under every school equipped. Every
Sorry about you.
employee valued. The first metric is maintain or increase percentage of all posted positions filled by the first day of school. Do we wanna add you said increase percentage, but you didn't put an X there. Do you want to add a X
Oh,
there?
I'm sorry.
I think we're at
it is-
99%,
yeah,
so it's probably.
Okay. So
Well,
it's-
and I think this one's a little bit different than, because this is saying all positions, not just student-facing positions, but it's still 95. Yeah, still pretty high.
I know,
I
I
think
don't
it's
have
a
a
good
board
thing.
secretary yet.
I think it's a good thing to keep.
We
your-
funded a
keep-
board secretary position and we don't have it yet.
Getting there. I think the maintainer increase is right. I guess we need to get clear on our side, because I think we were even looking at this different when we read it of, is it school-based, is it all, is it classified, you know, so, but either way, it still should be maintained or increased, because all those are very high right now.
Okay. Any comments on that one?
Yes, ma'am, my light's on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Connor.
So that, you thought you made her mad, wait till this. I was gonna ask that exact question, is can we make that into basically under one line, 4 buckets, like student facing, cafeteria staff, janitorial staff, yeah, sorry.
No, I
But
mean-
I think that would be great to be able to see a total roll-up and then where the 4 buckets or 5 buckets are that we are, where we're at, where we need to fill.
Why don't we take a look under this one and just put like 4 different categories of, you know, we'll take a look at it.
Let's let Shannon decide.
Well, there's going to be, if you want my opinion.
Yes, I
There's
do.
going to be a lot of these that when we're giving you updates on them, there's more information, right?
Mhm.
These are still kind of high level. That is a good kind of report card for you to say, hey, here's where we are with all positions. But we might need to come to you and say, within all positions, here's where we are with school-based, here's where we are with janitorial, here's where we are with these things, right? So you have a better sense, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on the page in
Yeah.
that way.
But
Kind
I
of a
think it's
fool
a
for
good
data,
amount
yeah.
of information, like we need to know what positions are filled or not filled for the budget purposes. So I think breaking it down is very good and informative for the board. So I like your idea. Ms. Felice.
Yeah, part of, this is still so hot. Part of it, I'm thinking that it's nice to see more data overall, you know, like the breakdown of all of it. But maybe not have all of those data points included in our board goals necessarily. So for this particular survey, I mean, I'd love to have it all broken down. I'd love to just start seeing more of other data. But for this, I would prefer, as far as the positions, be more school-based, you know, or ones based in the school as far as the goal.
I think I want to see them all just for budget purposes, so that we know if we have room to cut in any particular area in the next year's budget, because they weren't filled, they were vacant, so maybe we could allocate those dollars. So say there's central office positions not filled, like the board secretary, and then we could take those funds and move them to a school-facing position if we decided to, because we know the data.
And that's my thing, though. I think we should know all the data, but maybe, you know, use it to help with the budget, but I don't know.
But this is where we're getting the data. This is where we're saying we have to have this data.
Right, but I'm saying we can say we have to have certain data anyway without it being one of our main goals. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. You know,
and
overall,
I
I'd love
think
to
it-
see more, but they don't
Yeah.
all have to be part of the board goals. That's just my thoughts.
Part of this, again, is helping to try to keep us board administration on the same page, is that seeing that data will probably help understand how that works and how it fluctuates. So, like, yes, school-based staff, we're gonna be 95% or above, and we're constantly refilling that. Where there are times at central office that a position becomes vacant and we may hold that position for a minute. Doesn't mean that we don't need it, but, you know, they're, part of the way that we're working with, getting schools there is the ability to free some of those positions. So I think making it visible to the board would show kind of how we're working to prioritize schools versus central operations.
It would give you an opportunity to tell us why.
Right.
Okay. All right, no more lights on that one. Okay. Increased percentage of effective employees retained by X%. I don't understand effective employees. What?
It's talking
what are
about
you trying to say?
certified employees that are rated effective on their evaluation. I mean, we, yes, keeping all employees, but we want to focus on the ones that are effective, right?
Is there a percentage?
Yeah, it's really high. It's 91.
Maintain or increase?
Maintain or increase.
Can I have a question?
Yes.
Mind?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay, do we still have like 4 levels? 1, 2, 3, highly effective, so we have the 4 levels, so it would be wanting to retain mainly the 3s and 4s and
Yes,
those positions. And I will just say this, I think it would be helpful, I think what I've felt some or seen some, I mean, I don't think it's a blanket because it might be a small percentage, but in some cases, I don't think they're all being evaluated like they should be. Like if someone's not doing the best job, and I'm saying not in a, say they're falling down on the job or not as effective as we'd like, but they're not being evaluated as such. If someone's not doing well, we need to, in order to justify any movements here or there or percentage, we need to make sure that everyone's really doing a good job
You're talking about
evaluating
on
them.
the summative, like.
Yes, like
the
on the
evaluation piece of
Right,
principals
because
going
I've heard
in and-
comments, well, I don't need them, and, whatever, they weren't that great anyway, but I don't know if it was really communicated or if they were being evaluated specifics in order to justify,
Yeah. And so
a
much-
movement or or not retaining
Yeah.
certain people.
And now the data plays a big part of a teacher's level of effectiveness, even if they're not a tested subject. The overall school data plays on it. So it's a mix of both that
Mhm.
qualitative piece and the quantitative
Right,
piece.
exactly.
So then, increased percentage of employees responding favorably, there's that word again, to questions on employee satisfaction by X%. How do you feel about favorably in that one? You want them to be more specific?
I don't know. I just be in favor when you think they want us to be on our side.
Well, the one before that said effective, that was the language for 3, right, on like the evaluation. So what's the language for the 3 or above?
Since it's a similar measure, probably however we rewrite the family one, we will do the same for the employee one.
Well, but if it comes out of Gallup, it's actually measured differently. So I think, I don't know, it's like 3.4 this year. So you could actually say by 0.2 of a point or whatever on a 5-point scale.
Okay.
So we could give you a baseline. We have a baseline from last year on satisfaction, which is different than. Sure.
Is there any other metric under every employee valued that anyone thinks that we're missing? So we've got making sure everything, the jobs are filled. We've got the employees' ratings, and then we've got the employees' overall feeling of being valued. Is there any other, is compensation something that we want to put on there as a board goal?
And it was just going through my head. I'm not saying to add it, but I was just thinking, are they satisfied with that kind of thing too? Whether it be insurance, working conditions, I
That
don't,
might all be encompassed in
or
that
compensate, all of
satisfaction
that.
survey.
Can
I
I
don't think
ask?
it's a bad idea to put something about compensation.
Yeah.
Well, would they be funding based? Because
Yeah, but I mean.
if they're not satisfied, they're not gonna be satisfied. If they're not satisfied, just be real.
No, but I mean,
But,
you could look at it, but it's a funding question, right?
yeah, because it's a funding question, because if they're not, then do we have the funds to help satisfy them, or do we just ask them for the sake of asking.
But it's really to help us again with our budget process too, of where we want to focus budget dollars. It helps us inform all those decisions to at least have the data.
I just kind of function from a place of assuming that we should, like, our employees would like a raise every year.
Definitely, definitely.
I don't
Or is that
know.
part of their like the performance evaluation, is that asked in the, I know you don't ask it blatantly, but like, in performance evaluations, there are questions about job satisfaction. So like, is that something that could be placed there, and then based off of that data
It's really
could be
in
provided
Gallup.
to us if requested? I don't know if we need to.
Retention is usually based, there's the compensation side, but there's the working condition side. And the
Right.
Gallup data is all working conditions on some level. There's 12 questions that all roll up into a working condition kind of
So
conversation.
is this the employee satisfaction all based off of Gallup?
Yeah. Yes.
So all that's kind of encompassed?
Yes.
Ms. Black?
Are there questions about like relative tasks under workload, like workload, relative task questions in the Gallup poll? Okay. That's the biggest complaint I've heard, like consistency.
Yeah.
And consistently is just like how much data teachers have to collect or how much time they spend collecting and reporting data versus like preparing for class.
The Gallup asks questions like, I have the resources that I need to do my job effectively, or my administration values my voice and asks for input. It's questions like that.
Okay.
That are all around just working conditions. Do they feel like they have impact on their current state?
Not necessarily like, I feel like the tasks that I've been assigned to do are relevant to my job.
Right.
Yeah.
But with questions like I have the resources I need, some of that is time,
Yeah.
right? So you guys could see those questions.
Yeah.
We could get you those 12 questions.
I
so
just
you
wrote
can
down to
see.
share it.
Okay. Ms. Haddon?
I'm just curious, I used to fill out the surveys. I think I did a good job, and I turned them in. But most of those, I think they were confidential, I think, when we turn them in. I was just curious about the percent of responses that you actually get out of the number of teachers who actually complete the survey.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but
Like a
we can get
ballpark.
it. I mean, I think it's above 50, which is 63 to 64, what I'm saying, which is good. Both years that we've used Gallup, we've met kind of the threshold of like what they need to consider it a valid survey.
Okay, that's good to know.
So I'm hearing nobody wants to add anything about compensation. They just want to include that in this employee satisfaction. Okay. Any other metric under every employee valued? All right, moving on. Every community served. The first metric, decrease the percentage of students who are chronically absent by X%. What's a fair X? Do we have a baseline?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think it's probably 2 to 3, maybe 5.
I don't know that.
In a
We've
year?
been
Yeah,
decreasing.
We don't do 5% in a
Yeah.
year.
We've been decreasing a lot over the last few years, so it's one of those metrics that's gonna get harder and harder. But I think 2% is worth
2%?
looking at, yeah.
Increase percentage of seniors graduating with school-based experiential learning opportunities, so that's like internships. So this is not graduation rates, which is on the superintendent evaluation, I believe. This is more internship opportunities, preparing them.
Is it future-ready stuff
It could be future, yeah.
Like,
I might suggest, I think what we were getting at is more of that ready graduate metric. We might suggest putting the ready graduate metric there, right? To
Okay.
where it looks at things like AP, dual enrollment, certifications, all of those areas that kind of give opportunities outside of just a diploma.
And then what's a baseline? We have an X here, so are we gonna fill it back in with 2? Or what, where are we? Do we even have a baseline?
Yeah.
We've
it's
got a
good way
baseline.
to
I think
do
we
it.
need to look at it and see.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Haddon?
I was thinking somewhere in the survey, and it might be every community served, is maybe to include, did we include school safety anywhere or like reports?
It was that comprehensive school safety rubric.
But that was
school
under
equipped.
every school equipped.
Equipped.
I'm wondering if it might be part of like every community served as far as feeling safety for their kids, students, or
Is there
is every
a,
school equipped where it needs
is there a
to go?
metric in the parent survey that gets to that?
The parent survey, the pulse checks are aligned to these pieces of Opportunity 2030, so we do have an every school equipped one. Typically, when we're talking about school safety, we're kind of talking it in that equipped space. So
Is
it
there
would be a
metric
little
on
bit.
that already on that survey where we could get the data?
We can adjust the questions on the pulse check, so we could consider like what we're asking there if we needed to.
Do
to
parents
really-
feel like their student is safe? Is that what you're asking, Ms. Allen?
I somehow feel like with everything that's been going on, in our schools, just, not our fault, it's just societal things. I think a behavior piece,
behavior.
some kind of behavior incident piece would be good.
I think behavior and school safety are getting to two different questions, so if you're gonna put that
I
on the pulse
mean,
check, it's gotta be two different questions.
But I think
Well,
they're
I mean, we've
so,
got data
they're
around, like,
different, and as far as
incidents
in-class behavior incidents and outside,
Yeah, We've got
incidents.
data around reduction of like basically students with more than one referral, so we could look at that and use it, but that's still under,
We tag it under every student belongs
Yeah.
because the interventions for there are around connection and belonging.
See, I would personally like to see something around behavior.
I would agree, there's a lot of feedback
huge
from
thing.
constituents around student behavior and safety.
Would that be,
Go ahead.
Dr. Robertson, Dr. Stewart, would that be more of like what we capture in community forward data?
We definitely capture this kind of.
Right.
I mean, we capture the reduction of incidents and we capture the reduction of exclusionary.
Okay.
Ms. Eman just gave a great suggestion that I just want to put out here. We could probably move graduates onto every community served where it kind of fits where we talk about that a lot of times instead of on every student belongs, and then add the incident metric that we're talking about into every student belongs.
Yeah.
That probably would balance.
I agree too, because we've got the future-ready graduates in every community served. So as far as graduates for the community, that's a great idea.
On this one, I want to bring up two things. Community. This is every community served. So I want to, because it's something that we're trying to address in District 7, and I think it's important for every district, is that sense of community. And I don't know how we measure that metric of increasing that sense of community within a feeder pattern school district. And then capacity, our buildings. So I think there needs to be a metric of assessing, because we put in here in this goal, go back under, it's every school equipped is where we put it, of optimizing facilities. But I don't see any of that on this annual report of requiring annual reviews of school operations and facilities to maximize capacities and operational efficiency. So if that's under every school equipped, then I guess I need to go back up to that one and not under every community served. But I want to see some kind of a metric on the capacity issue, as that is something that we're all talking about consistently in our growth. But the community portion, I don't know how you want to put that, Shannon. Do you have any thoughts around that building community, increasing?
I don't know if this is good. We do track engagement, like engagement opportunities that parents have. I don't know, it's an input versus the output. The output is they feel connected, right? The input, but we do have that kind of data for schools in terms of number of engagement opportunities they have. In a lot of schools, we have the number of people who participate. I'm not sure that gets at what you're asking, though.
No, I think
But
it
I don't-
could. I think, increasing the opportunities for engagement is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Whether that's school-wide or district-wide. I mean, we're trying to focus on not just school-wide, but district-wide in District 7. So I think, you know, that's my big push, is us competing with our competitors, and by doing that is building community where we maintain our students, we keep our families, and they don't look to go elsewhere. So providing those engagement opportunities in every district, I think, is an important piece.
We really are starting to look at engagement a little bit differently too, where parents just feel like they have those open lines of communication. They're measuring that too. It's not necessarily coming to said event, but do you feel like you have access to your child's teacher and an open line of communication and those kind of things? So I think we could get to something that.
Is that in the pulse checks? Where are we getting that
Yeah.
engagement data?
The schools are house it. So a lot of our schools, like our community forward schools, all have coordinators. That's 26 schools. We have another about 30 schools that have family partnership specialists that are keeping that kind of data as well. So most of our schools have somebody who's paying attention to those numbers, to those experiences and things.
I need to learn more about those positions. I'm interested in learning more about those positions and what schools they're in. Is there a one pager of that somewhere?
Yeah, which schools are community forward schools and which schools have family partnership specialists? Yeah. Yeah, the community forward is on the website. The family partnership specialists, schools have them for different reasons, like magnet schools, a lot of that is the parent volunteer hour organizing. So a lot of those have that. Others are just doing any variety of things, but yeah, that list.
I don't know that my schools have that, so I want to know if my
It's-
schools have those.
The schools that have it, it's funded mostly in strategic. It's not something allocated. They allocate to it.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone wants under every community served? All right. Well, I feel like that was productive in getting,
If I may ask, this is going to take a little bit of time to pull together all of the things that we talked about. If you'd like, we can submit this either as a first read again or as the second read with the changes we discussed today, because the changes on the policy are very minor. And then with that policy change in place, then we can be working on the annual report and get that right and bring it back to the board as like a information, right?
yeah.
Can I add just one more thing? I just want your opinions. I'm just throwing it out there. Should we include like exceptional education or anything in any
Under
anywhere?
every school equipped, is that where that would be, under the?
And I don't know how, we measure it, but it's a thought. I'm not saying we have to do that, something we can maybe add later, but it was just something that I thought of, and I don't know.
Typically, what we've done with the data there is we pick the metric that we're focused on, and then when we're looking at the data, we look at it by each student group. And so
Okay.
when you're talking about like how are ex-ed students performing, it's in all of these things that we can measure. We're also looking to see like the differences there.
Okay, it's one of those things where we'd love to see the data, but it doesn't have to be part of the goals. Okay.
Under the every student belongs, are the students filling out questionnaires too? Are they filling out surveys?
We used to, but remember they now have to opt in, which we
Now
weren't
they're not
getting
doing
enough
it.
response, and so.
So there's no data there. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on, and we're gonna have a hard stop at 6 o'clock, so we gotta hustle up. So that takes us to 1.407, school district records. This was just very brief cleanup changes. Any comments on 1.407? I think there was just like by telephone. All right, seeing none, I'm gonna move on. School district planning, 1.701. Again, that was just taking out one red line there. It was a very just law cleanup. So then the next big one to talk about, and this is a fairly big one, and we may have to talk about it a few times, is this school board meetings 1.4. There's been a recommendation by the administration to kind of align our policy, our committee meetings on the same week as our board. So Shannon, will you please talk about that?
You gotta be kidding.
Well,
I'm gonna have a whole lot of fun in the next few years.
So the,
Let me know how that works out for you.
you're good. The idea would be we could actually streamline a little bit, so don't count me out yet, right? If we kept the 4:30 and the 6 o'clock time pieces, then we could always hold 4:30 as a committee meeting as needed, and then the 6 o'clock as the public meeting. And so that would allow people to be able to engage in the public meeting without having it be so early. And so we could do the Mondays would be the 4:30 we would hold for a committee meeting as needed. The 6 o'clock could be the agenda session, right? And so we'd have the agenda session on a Monday of the board meeting week. And then Thursdays, we would hold a 4:30 committee meeting and a 6 o'clock board meeting, right? So we'd be doing the agenda sessions on the Monday, the board meeting on the Thursday, instead of trying to do them on the same day, like we switched to. And then holding that 4:30 time that we're already used to be for committee meetings. So every month you would have 2 spaces held for committee meetings, depending on the length of the committee meeting. It could be 1, or it could be 2 shorter committee meetings. So the idea would be we could actually condense and be a bit smarter with our time.
Felice?
Well, I didn't ever turn my light off, but I will comment. I didn't think about that. I mean, that sounds logical, because I'm just thinking those work sessions, we don't have enough time. And committee meetings, you know, it sounds pretty good.
Mrs. Jones?
Well, way back in the day, when Jonathan Welch was our chair, we did that. We had agenda work sessions on Mondays of the week of our board meeting. And then we also held committee meetings on those days as well. And then on Thursdays when we came in, it was right into the meat of it, the vote, get on home. You don't miss your kids' baseball games and basketball games and family visitations or whatever else is going on Thursday night when people want to hold us all night long. I actually thought about this earlier today. I was like, why don't we hold committee meetings the same day as our meetings, like city council does or something? You know, I was just kind of trying to think about a better way to do it for more efficiency, because looking at my calendar for October, I was like, yeah, I'm not coming to all of this. I'm trying to exercise my best yes, and not run my blood pressure up. So yeah, I was like, yeah, no, not doing all of that. And I was thinking, why don't we do something different? So I'm open to that. I still think we have to, whatever we do, I was thinking that we need to set some type of precedence so that we're not, I mean, public comment is one thing, shenanigans are another. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But I think it's just getting to the point where we have to realize what meetings are for what. And I do think even with committee meetings, so like case in point, that time we had the whole separate meeting to hear from the meeting we did at Red Bank for public comment, right? I'm okay with those kinds of meetings if it means that on my actual meeting date, I get in and I get out. I'm okay with setting a time aside to just hear people. Because sometimes on our meeting dates, it elongates the night for everyone. And if I'm not retired like some of my board peers, I'm not an entrepreneur like some of my board peers, I clock in at 8 o'clock, I probably have to take time or flex time to be here at 4:30. And once again, I'm not a grandmother. I am a grandmother, but I still have an in-home child. I want to see my kid before he goes to sleep. I mean, there's just some things that I want to do at this stage in my life. And now that we have, and I'm just going to say this, now that we have our student, because I've lived that life too I remember back in the day we used to have student rents. They have homework, they have families, I mean, they're just, some things are just not, there's a time and a place for everything. And I think we need to figure out what that looks like. And if we have to format our schedules differently to do that, I'm okay. I'm open to that. But I mean, then again, I'm only here to August 31st of next year anyway. But I'm just open to that because I think as times are evolving, it's going to get deeper and deeper into ruts. And, you know, just something to consider.
Mr. Connor?
When did you plan for public comment to be?
The 6 o'clock meeting on the Monday.
So I have terrible news for everyone that just, and Chris, that was lovely, but pursuant to Public Chapter 300, House Bill 440 of the 113th General Assembly now signed into law, Section 1, Letter A, a governing body shall, for each public meeting, reserve a period of public comment to provide the public with the opportunity to comment on matters that are germane to the items on the agenda for the meeting. Public comment must be allowed. Continuing on, Tennessee Open Meetings Act grants the public the right to attend and observe public meetings. It also requires governing bodies to provide a period for public comment at every meeting where there is an actionable item, meaning we are required by law to have public comment at whichever meeting is our actual board meeting.
So we can still have it. No, I'm okay. I'm saying, no. What I was saying, yeah, what I was saying is I'm okay for public comment on the meeting date. Like what we used to do was have what I just said, and then on the actual meeting day, we still had public comment. But my thing is that we're able to have a discussion of the agenda. Because first of all, it's really perturbing me to come to board meetings, and it's clear the people that sit on this desk with me did not open their computers. That's really bothering me. So I think if you have a separate agenda session, if they didn't do it, then at least in that moment, they have time to go over the agenda and they know what we're going to talk about on Thursday, because that elongates meetings too. When you could have had time to ask questions to people that work in the district, your schools or whatever, if you had paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
So that elongates time too. So I think just in planning purposes, for all intents, planning purposes, all intents, effectiveness and efficiency, I do think we need a separate agenda work session, because we oftentimes don't get that, which is why when we get into regular meeting, when we have to move something to board matters, or we have to move something to whatever, then it's elongating the meeting, right? Versus if you gonna talk about it, then you gotta read your agenda that Shirley sent us the week before and be ready to talk about that on that Monday. I think that's fair. So that if we start to push back as board peers to one another, like, well, we should have talked about that Monday, so you better wait till next month about that, then that's fair, because we had ample time to talk about that in an agenda work session.
Agreed. Yeah, Chair, thank you. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm just saying that we cannot do it as we do now. In fact, I brought up from this dais that I did not think we were in line with the law, even having an agenda meeting where we had public comment, adjourning and returning. We decided that since it was the same day, it was fine and no one called us on it. But if we move the agenda session to a different day, we absolutely have to figure out public comment. And so it stands to reason in this instance that committee meeting we're talking about would probably be our public comment if it was something like it was last month,
Right.
and probably next month, or no, we're not in October yet, next month. Since I know that there's already a lot of people signed up for next month already. So, and this, no, Kritz was part of this, but Kritz and Joe are the only ones on the board that were part of it. It changed the meeting day, our first meeting after swearing in, for myself, Jill, Larry, Gary, I'm forgetting some of this. But anyway, it was Faye. Yeah, sorry. So that was the very first time we ever did this. So we've never experienced it except from sitting out there.
Right.
So, yeah, I again, not trying to be negative, that's the current law now.
And I may have misunderstood what was said previously, but I didn't hear anyone say that we wouldn't have public comment at 6 o'clock. What I had heard.
She said Monday.
But they was trying to move,
Was the
I
plan,
think it
was in
proposed
her
for
plan, but I'm
Monday.
not.
Okay.
We were just moving that meeting where we've had the
Yeah.
discussion
But this is a.
to Mondays,
yeah.
but it's not a problem to have, it would give us more work time on the Monday, and then you could still have your public comment.
And I think we need to stick to the request to speak. I mean, we need to stick to that procedure. And I also think, as once again to my board peers, so which a lot of them ain't here tonight, please stick to the adding to the agenda. Like, all this last minute addition to the agenda is a lot. So just like, if we're gonna, when you get the agenda, well, first of all, we know how agenda process goes. So if it's something you want to put on the agenda, go on and get it on there now. Or go on and start to think about what that looks like. Go ahead and start to have those conversations. And then if it's getting close to the date that Shirley has to have, I mean, Dr. Rob, all that's got to be done. Joe, Dr. Robinson, Shirley, all that. Go on and get to that date. Like, all this after the fact, I want to add this. Well, that's already, the agenda already out. Like, stop that.
Okay, I think We only have 10 minutes, so I'm gonna.
I'm just saying that, because we took 30 minutes on I must not even say that, but just being efficient for people too, because a lot of public people are complaining about that things are being added to the agenda at the last minute, and they're not able to sign up to speak to those things because they were not out there in time. And we're legally obligated to look at that too.
Mr. Chair, the last thing I'd add on that is what I just read you. To define germane, it does mean relevant to a subject under consideration. So our current policy allows for anybody that signs up to speak to anything they wish. We are within the law and exactly following it, should we so change the policy to say that it must be something on the agenda.
We follow that protocol now. We say it has to be on the agenda.
Not for the people that sign up before.
Mr. Connor's actually correct. And it's a throwback to what Ms. Jones is talking about. So we had, on the Wednesday night work session, we would go through the agenda, and it was an extensive, like, we went through everything. And then at the end, we opened the floor to anyone who wanted to speak about anything. And the reason that we did it that way was because if someone raised a topic that the administration then needed to respond to and put on the agenda, there were 3 days in between. So, and that's the reason why we have the public comment during our agenda session. It's to give the administration an opportunity to go out and figure out, okay, what do we need to respond to? What's the issue? Because the board may have questions. That's sort of a vestige of the old way of doing things. If the board wanted to, it's cyclical. I've seen this cycle. If the board wanted to, you could restrict public comment to those folks who sign up to what's on the agenda. You have a very liberal public comment process right now where if anyone contacts Shirley 72 hours in advance and says, I'd like to speak about, we don't need to have potato chips on the concession stands at the football games, and the executive committee agrees to put that on there, we're going to spend 3 minutes listening to folks discuss that. So this board has historically said, if you want to talk, we'll give you the mic. But all the law requires you to do is listen to people who want to talk about what is actually on the agenda.
I don't think we're ready to move forward with this one just yet, Ms. Shannon. I think we're gonna have to, because we have so many missing tonight. I think we're gonna have to hold this and not put it on for a first read just yet.
That's no problem. That's no problem. That's what I was going to remind of. It could be a first read, so it could allow us to see what people think by making the changes. Because I think I did hear, and stop me if I'm wrong, like general consensus, although there's a lot of thoughts, but it wouldn't be a first and final read by any means.
Well, we could put it on first read and have a discussion, but I have a feeling we're gonna have more discussion from other people who aren't here. That's all I'm saying.
Chair, when did you, just in your thought process, and I'm not trying to like crucify you here at all, but when did you want this to go into effect? If it was, let's say, a first read in October, when would we change?
First of all, I don't want to take credit. This was not my idea. Ms. Shannon is trying to be efficient.
You're the
But
chair, you get all the credit and
But we
detraction.
did discuss that we wouldn't do this till next year. We were talking about implementing it maybe in January.
Which does
Just
give
do it next
a
August.
great example for first read in November, second read in December.
I'm glad you said January, because I thought, oh, June.
Yeah.
I work on fiscals.
So, okay. We have just a few minutes. Do you have something?
Yeah, I was just saying, as far as the effective date, doesn't the policy say that we approve the calendar in April? So wouldn't it, like, we probably wouldn't be able to start this until, I mean, I guess have we amended a calendar in the
Sure.
middle of a year?
We have.
Okay.
In April, that's our business sessions. I don't think it says specifically work sessions, but it's business sessions.
For time purposes, I'm gonna skip to 1.806 because we need to address this one with Mr. Bennett. So, Mr. Bennett, do you want to talk about why we're looking at this, or Shannon, the advertising and distribution of materials in the schools?
Yes, ma'am. So historically, we've had a policy that that limits the use of our schools or our school personnel for any kind of commercial advertising. There used to be a state law that spoke to that explicitly. That law was repealed many, many years ago, but we've retained the policy. We now have a situation where some of our coaches are actually being asked to endorse some products in a way that could actually benefit our athletic programs. And I'll let Shannon speak to that if she wants to fill
Sure.
the rest.
I mean, we were approached with a marketing opportunity that could be a commercial opportunity to put 2 of our local coaches on a commercial in kind of like a fun rivalry way. If we wanted to promote or move forward with that opportunity and kind of promote our athletics in our district, then we would need to adjust the policy. So there's some guardrails in this language that would say it had to be approved by the superintendent of schools or director of schools, and it could only benefit like the program at large. People could not get like personal gain out of, an advertising opportunity. So that's why we're bringing it here. If we did want to pursue this opportunity, it is kind of time bound, so we would want to put this on as a first and final read, which is not, typically our policy. We try to stay away from them, but it would need that timing to be able to do this.
And frankly, I think this is a policy that we've needed to revise for a long time. If you go to any football game, you look around and you see commercial advertising. And when I go to these football games, I have to pretend that I don't see them. So it's time to update this. I would say that enterprise here shouldn't be capitalized.
Oh.
That was my typo.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, it seems like everybody's in agreement. I know you can't make a motion here, but I move to approve for first and final. Like, let's do
We'll
it.
put it on for a first and
Great.
final. Okay, I'm gonna have to push the rest, because I said I'm walking out the door at 6, I'm gonna hold to it. So-
Gary needs to be here for you.
Yeah, there's some things Gary put on, and we'll talk about the policy and development adoption the next time. So, with all that said, we are adjourned.